This thing feels like a spaceship.
Back in 2018, we were finishing up our Sunraider Amelia. It was a 9-month build and it had taken all of our time, money, energy. As we were wrapping it up, we were starting to have creeping suspicions that it was not gonna work out for us. It just wasn't the right fit. We spent about 3 weeks on the road in it before that was confirmed. You know, we were kind of devastated by that realization. We kind of lost our identity. We were in the middle of North Carolina, somewhere camped out and at our wits' end, and we decided to buy a Tacoma off of Craigslist locally there in North Carolina. And we drove both vehicles all the way back down to Orlando. We ended up selling the Sunraider, and then we took off in the Tacoma. It wasn't just about trucks, it was about us and how we wanted to steer the direction of our lives.
So we started looking into other options, and Owen had been wanting a 4-wheel camper since before we had even gotten on the road. And to me, they always just felt really expensive and elaborate, and I needed to prove to ourselves that it was worth investing that kind of money into what we were living in on the road, because we had no idea how long we were going to be out for. And so it kind of felt like the first time I was really willing to consider it. And so we drove up to mainline Overland in our Tacoma and checked it out. And I knew pretty much immediately that it was going to be the path forward for us. It felt like the right kind of living conditions for life and work. And it was also going to be extremely capable to get us to all the places that we wanted to be.
After about a month of thinking about it, we finally pulled the trigger the day before we took a ferry to Newfoundland to buy a 4-wheel camper from Mainline and start the project that eventually became Roxanne. Ever since we got Roxanne, life has completely 180'd. All of those doubts and concerns we had when we were taking off in Amelia, our Sunraider, just kind of disappeared, and all of those anxieties about unreliable vehicles, just things not working, it all just kind of melted away.
So I always kind of joke when people ask how I feel about our last truck, Roxanne, and the best way I can put it is it kind of felt like our Slumdog Millionaire rig. We had had all of these life experiences and all these things had gone wrong. And that truck solved every single one of those problems. And it kind of felt like it gave us our life back. No longer were we worried about if we were going to be able to make it to where we wanted to go. The focus went from keeping a vehicle running back to our travels. And that shift in focus allowed our business to grow, our relationship to grow. The focus was no longer on the vehicle, it was on us and what we were doing. It's been an incredible 4.5 years.
Our friends Chase and Amy started the process of building a 4-wheel camper very similar to our Roxanne, our old truck. And it kind of got my gears turning a little bit too. With the new Tundra, what the possibilities could be if we would have better gas mileage, more power, more torque, all these things. And just kind of looking at the refresh of technology as well. And I think that that's kind of when the idea got planted in my head to look into what building a new truck would look like. So I'd been thinking about this and stewing on it for quite some time before I decided to finally bring it up to Mac, and it was not received well.
I believe I started crying almost immediately and said, "Don't you dare take my truck from me." I really came to love Roxanne and everything about her, and the thought of changing something that was working. You know, the saying goes, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I kind of felt like nothing was broken. But Owen kind of slowly introduced me to the idea and his rationale, being able to work with all of our brand partners to hopefully eliminate a substantial amount of debt that we had on our first rig. Really and truly, the more that we looked at it, the more it made sense. We really wanted a fresh start in preparation for full-time international travel. I think it was really important to us that we were turning over a new leaf, something that we knew would be reliable for multiple years to come. The thing is, we had had our last Tundra for 4.5 years and it had effectively no issues with it, so it felt like we were getting a new start. We also were really excited about some potential power upgrades. Red Arc has completely revolutionized the game, and so has Dakota Lithium with the amount of power that we could potentially hold. So I think that we were just needing a little bit of a fresh start to be able to integrate all this new technology that's come about in the last 4.5 years.
In our setup that we built ourselves, we just have this tiny little inverter. Before we were just charging our laptops, now we're powering Starlink, we're powering a rice cooker. And it's gotten to the point where our inverter is so small that we can't run Starlink and the rice cooker at the same time. Or there's all these little limitations. So I think scaling up that power system with more batteries and a bigger inverter and just having all of these newer amenities like the new thermal pack, it's just all adding up to a much better camper.
Sourcing the truck was a little bit of a fiasco, if I want to put it lightly. So initially we decided to order a truck from factory so we could ensure that we were getting everything that we wanted. It's no secret that trucks have been difficult to source over the last couple of years. We felt like that was the best way to get exactly what we wanted when we needed it. So we placed an order with a dealership in Florida, and we were told 6 to 7 months we would have a truck. So 6 months rolls around and we're in Mexico at the time, and we have not heard hide nor hair of our truck, and we decided to check into it only to learn that our truck was never ordered, and no one filled us in on that detail or even really why that situation had gone down. Turns out the combination of packages that we were looking for is not something that's offered everywhere in the United States. We were without a truck. We had all of the parts ready to go. We were about a month out from building. We had the camper ready from 4-wheel campers. All of the parts were ready to go with mainline. Even our Norweld flatbed tray was over from Australia, ready to go. The only thing that we were missing was a truck. So we started to get a little frantic, and we put out a call, and thankfully the Toyota dealership in Flagstaff, Arizona helped us figure out where in the world the exact truck that we needed, because through this process we realized that we were looking for something very special. And they were able to help us pinpoint one that was in Virginia Beach. And so Owen flew out without me to pick up the truck and get it to Florida to be registered. And then after that, we took it up to mainline to start building.
What? This thing feels like a spaceship. Oh yeah. Look at this screen. I feel like we've entered the 21st century. Okay, so it's a push to start. Well, before we get driving, we can't leave without adding Luna's collar to the new truck. There we go. There's our girl. It's officially home now.
Take a good look, because this is the last time Jolene is going to be stock, as we're headed up to mainline Overland for a complete overhaul.
I'm Pete Henwood. And I'm Matt Henwood, and we are Mainline Overland. Mainline Overland is a specialty vehicle upfitter, and we've got locations in New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. And we basically outfit awesome expedition rigs and adventure vehicles for our customers all across the country.
Our philosophy behind our work is kind of like keep it as simple as possible to be able to achieve the customer's goals, keep it as serviceable as possible. So we select brands really carefully and stick with what we know to be like an actual combination that's going to work, not the biggest tire that might bolt onto a hub.
We chose Mainline to build this truck because of how amazing of a job they did on Roxanne. It was always reliable. We never were left stranded. It was just the best vehicle, the best home we had ever had. And so it was kind of a no-brainer for us to go right back to Mainline for this one.
They know suspensions. They helped develop these four-wheel camper flatbeds with four-wheel campers. They have been involved in the company for a really long time. Nobody knows how to build these out quite like they do. And at the end of the day, this truck is going to take us into a lot of unknown scenarios. And I think it's really important that you can look at your vehicle and know that you trust it and you trust the people who helped you build it. And we can absolutely say that that's the case for us. Mainline also was just very fast and efficient. I think that we pulled the truck in and within 45 minutes, our entire truck bed had been pulled off. And it was just, I mean, it was almost like whiplash. Just things were happening so fast and everybody was, I mean, there was multiple people working on our truck at a time. It was just a fascinating process because we didn't get the opportunity to see Roxanne be built. So this time it was really quite fascinating to watch how the sausage gets made. Gosh, this is so much space. That is a big deal.
During the whole build process at Mainline, we were getting parts in like just in the nick of time. We were really going. We were on a roll, and then all of a sudden things came to a screeching halt when the bumper was not going to show up on time.
When I reached out to CBI to kind of figure out what was going on with the bumper and if one was ever going to show up, the way I was treated was extremely concerning. It was incredibly rude, and I don't think that I was treated fairly. And everything that we put on our truck is an endorsement for the people that we work with. And we have so many great relationships with all of the people that were involved in this build, and to include their bumper just felt like it was degrading the relationship and how we feel about everybody else by putting them on that same level. So ultimately, we needed to find something else, and this is with just a few days left in our build before we had to leave.
So my name is Joe. I work here at Mainline Overland. Like any big build like this, it's always a possibility that you're going to run into a couple hiccups and you're going to have to shift gears and go a different direction to basically solve the problem. And we definitely ran into that during this build, and we were not going to let this truck roll out with that stock front end because that chin is just way too big, you know. And we needed a winch and lights. Like that was a big part of the build. So thankfully, we were able to work with some of our suppliers, and we found a bumper that they really liked. So we went with the Addictive Desert Designs. And this is kind of where the relationships you have with suppliers and everything really come into handy. Because I called up our rep and he was like, I think I have one of these. He called me back about an hour later, said he tracked it down, and basically got it shipped out that same day.
We were able to get it brought up to Mainline from Texas in 2 days and still finish our build on time. Joe is a champion.
So I know one question a lot of people are going to ask when we're putting a flatbed four-wheel camper on a Tundra or basically any truck like that is how did we upgrade the suspension to accommodate all that extra weight and make sure you're going to have a reliable suspension that can handle the weight but also perform off-road. Spent a long time talking to Dobinsons, kind of trying to find the right dialed setup. So we did not use kind of an off the website spring for the rear. Because that camper is a lot heavier than anything kind of Dobinsons offers. So it's actually an 80 series spring. I believe it's about a 4-inch spring, but it's kind of the heaviest one they make. I think another interesting thing, and some people might ask, is why didn't we not go with an MRR suspension that has the remote reservoirs? The fact of it is those suspensions perform great, they ride like butter, but they do need rebuilt and they do require more maintenance than kind of a IMS shock like this. And with you guys kind of out on the road a long time and you need your vehicle for work, and that's what it comes down to. That's your home and your office. So you really can't afford to have that downtime with a truck in the shop. And since you're going to be traveling internationally, we wanted the most reliable setup that we're not going to have to worry about. So with anything on an Overland build and kind of anything in life, there's always a trade-off between performance and reliability. And I think the IMS shock kind of strikes that perfect balance between you still get the really good performance, they're still slightly adjustable, but you kind of have the longevity and you just know it's always going to work.
I think one of the best parts of building vehicles like this for our customers is being able to see them out in the wild, using them and exploring the world. And we're really excited to see where Mac and Owen take this rig, out in the wild.
Yeah, we want some new banners for around the shop. We need to get some South American and Europe, let's get some new fresh photos
Come on,
to
spice it up.
push around the shop here.
Get to work, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God, were you driving this last? Oh my God, I'm like a mile away. Where even is the parking lot?
I don't know, I haven't used it
Oh,
yet.
that's the hood.
With Jolene's foundation complete, our next stop was four-wheel campers. That's coming up in the next episode.
That's relatively easy.
That's what that button's for. Remember you were trying to figure it
Yeah.
out. Oh, that's fun. It's gonna do absolutely nothing for us when we have a camper on there.
Well, it's still ventilation.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
This will probably be our last car wash that we could ever fit
Right.
in the actual car wash.